Hi, I'm Hope Witkowsky, your host of Senior Scene. As we get close to retirement age, we may think, what are we going to do on this next stage of life? Do I take the path of least resistance, or do I reinvent myself and do something new and exciting? Today, we're going to meet one woman who's going to tell us about what she is doing. You may know Helen Dennis from her weekly column in the Daily Breeze newspaper. She's a nationally recognized leader in the field of aging. So we sat down to talk about life after retirement, and she gives us some insight to how that word, retirement, has evolved over the decades.
In the 1950s, it was completely different from today. And I think the biggest difference is the expectations. I think in the 1950s, people were happy if they had a pension, they had their Social Security, their children owned a home, they were married, they had grandchildren, and it was a time to travel, take it easy. Life was good. And the expectations weren't huge. The expectations were more on health and stability, not in finding your passion or making a difference in the world.
Helen says seniors often relate to certain decades based on when they were born. For instance, the silent generation and the baby boomers.
Well, every decade brought its new changes. Probably the largest impact were the baby boomers. And we're talking about 78 million who have changed every aspect of life every time they moved through a life stage. And the baby boomers are not a generation that is satisfied with the status quo. Okay? Well, let's back up a little bit. Let's talk about the silent generation. Silent generation is just before the baby boomers. Very polite, didn't take risks. You went to college and you became a teacher or an engineer. Very compliant. Started the women's movement, civil rights, but they did it quietly. And they were silent not because they didn't have too much of a voice, but it was a small cohort. Weren't a lot of people. In come the baby boomers. They made a big splash.
And with the different generations of seniors, it's no surprise that there is a different reaction to the word retirement from those born in the 40s versus those born in the 60s.
Now note, they've changed everything every time they move to another decade or life stage. And they're doing the same with retirement. I mean, this is a generation that is not pleased with the status quo. It's a generation that has high expectations. Previous generations, let's say the silent generation, when they retired, many, not all, if you had a pension, if you were lucky, if you had Social Security, you owned your home, your children were married, life was good. You could travel a little. You could live a little bit on the periphery of life, but life was good. That's not the boomers. The boomers are change agents, and they're changing retirement. It's not a time, and again, these are generalities, it's not a time to be on the periphery of life. They have 20 to 30 years of health ahead of them, and they ask what Betty Friedan asked in the 60s. Is this all there is? Okay, I had my job, I'm fairly okay financially, kids are good, but what happens to me now? Where do I fit into this new world? And so they're looking for purpose. They are seeking passion. They want to make a difference. So you'll have a generation, if you will, of older adults that may be acting like adolescents and finding a new kind of identity.
In U.S. history, it tells us that the biggest group of seniors yet are the silent generation and the baby boomers.
It's increasing. I think there are about 11 million people now that are considered in their encore career, but they didn't know it when they entered it. So part of this is we have a language now for that. People may have been doing this for years, but we have a language for it. I can only say it is growing. Even the concept of encore, which suggests not finished yet. I have this life in front of me, as opposed to retirement, which often suggests withdrawal, being passive, being on the periphery. The encore is a vibrant kind of concept.
So, what is there to do after retirement? there sometimes is a sense of loss.
I think there are two kinds of people. There's the one, and my father was one of them. You work for 30 years and retirement is just easy. What a gift. What a gift. Not a problem. Love every bit of it. Non-issue. Then you have the group that says, you know, this is a huge change in my life. And I think to call those changes losses is very accurate. And I've worked with 10,000 employees over the years preparing for the non-financial aspects of retirement. That included clergy and faculty and staff and engineers and many more. What they miss, regardless of the kind of work, if you're not working in an exclusive laboratory, people. You've lived with them for 30 or 40 years. You've celebrated birthdays. You went to funerals. You celebrated life cycles together. So the people, the contact, is one big loss.
We visit Sunny Moss, a Silent Generation senior who worked 45 years, and she has an inspiring story to tell about what she did after she retired.
I thought that you had to have everything decided the day you left work and said, I'm retired. And as I found out, that's not true. I've been reinventing myself every year. You start an activity, find out that it's either good for you and keep it, or you enhance it, or you let it go and find something else. And that's pretty much what I do. I refer to myself as being a serial volunteer.
Entering her 70s, Sunny found her encore career at the Assistance League in San Pedro. Rita Stratton is an officer of the League at the only volunteer-run post office in the nation.
Sunny Moss took to the post office right away. She donates her time there and she's happy working there. And also she has now joined our board. And she will be our finance officer, which we are very lucky to have her because she is a very dedicated volunteer and a happy volunteer, and that's what we love.
Sunny states that she is really a serial volunteer, as she found that her true passion lies in helping others.
I'm with the Los Angeles Philharmonic Speakers Bureau, the Assistance League, and I've got two things there. I volunteer in the post office, and then I'm going to be on their board of directors. I play golf, so I'm now president of Lakewood Women's Golf Club. There's Omnilore, and the only thing I've got time to do for them is occasionally be a coordinator or a co-coordinator for one of the classes that they've got, one of the study groups that they do. Isn't that enough?
The big reveal was another big benefit from all this volunteer work that she does. This also solves the big disadvantage when one retires and then loses all their friends that they made when they were employed.
All of my friendships have come through meeting people, doing activities. That is the only way that I've got of meeting people. The neighbors are wonderful, but we all have our own lives. I get out and I travel. I go to concerts, I go to movies, I go out to dinner with friends, I'm active in my temple. I try to do everything that makes sense. And there are also times when I really appreciate my alone time, and I make sure that I have it. There are many weekends where someone asks me, am I busy? And I will say, yes, I am. And I have nothing on the calendar, and that's the way I want it.
The joy that Sunny is now getting from the work she is volunteering at radiates in her face as she shows off what she does as a volunteer at the local schools. A lover of music, she takes that passion to these young students and receives amazing rewards that is a pleasure during these retirement years.
I'm very active in Symphonies for Schools. So I get to go out to the schools and to speak to them about concert behavior and about the music that they're going to hear at Walt Disney Concert Hall. And one of the educational coordinators said, that she will always remember how excited the one particular school was to see me down at Walt Disney Concert Hall, and with Miss Moss, jumping up and down, just having this wonderful time seeing me and recognizing me, and the joy. So the thank yous like that are the wonderful things when you know you've made an impression on someone's life and they take the time to say thank you.
A very serious health condition put Sunny out of service to her volunteer work. She wouldn't let that hold her down, as she is now recovering.
I am a 2-time breast cancer survivor. And however, I've just gone through a surgery. And I am basically back to normal now. And it's only been 8 weeks since the actual surgery. And at a doctor's appointment that I had yesterday, which was my final one, he said, "I don't know what you're doing." He said, "Most people have an extreme difficulty with recovering from this type of surgery." He said, "Whatever you did a wonderful job at it, and you are just doing so well." I think it's because I wanted to get back to what I was doing. I didn't want to feel sorry for myself, so I just concentrated on wellness and getting stronger and stronger and keep on doing and doing and doing.
Our aging specialist, Helen, stresses there are wonderful new doors to open once life changes occur and we leave our careers after many decades of that work.
An opportunity to do what you've always loved to do. And sometimes you have to sell out. You've got a mortgage, you've got kids, you've got a car, you've got college, but now is your time. Like I've always wanted to be a teacher. Well, Experience Corps, sponsored by AARP, takes people, older adults, and moves them into tutoring and mentoring positions for at-risk children in public schools. Research shows the kids thrive and the older adults thrive, physically, emotionally. I mean, they have purposeful activity. So rather than seeing these things as the exception, we're going to soon see this as the rule. The goal is to make this normative, to see that there is a life ahead of you. Travel is great, grandkids are terrific, but there might be something even beyond.
I hoped you enjoyed today's show and really got inspired to think about what you want to do with all the opportunities that are available to you now that you're grown up. I'm Hope Witkowsky reminding you, knowledge is a powerful tool. Tune in next time for more secrets on successful aging.